Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today we have a triple from Yankee Candle. I suspect this video is not going to be very popular for a couple reasons. First of all, it is Yankee Candle. Second of all, it is 3 fall candles. So we're not even talking holiday candles here. And I even think that at this point, holiday candles would be a bit of a tough sell. But at any rate, they were burned and I need to talk about them. If for no other reason that they're on clearance right now, and I don't know if any one of them are going to stay in the collection, but if they do, then at least this review will exist for posterity. So the 3 candles, and I went ahead and I did not mess around. I went ahead and got them in triple wick. So they are doing a Bath and Body Works style now. These are triple wick soy blend. And I went ahead and got those over any of the 2 wick varieties at this point. Yeah, I didn't think that any of them were going to be complete winners, although one of them at least I had hopes for. But I just wanted candles that I could breeze through. And as much as I prefer a double wick and a nice tumbler, I don't like the trash can clip arts from Yankee. I think they're an ugly aesthetic. And it takes a very, very long time for them to burn down. So this aesthetic is ridiculous right here. I don't know what they were going for. It's like this, it was supposed to be kind of photorealistic, I think, but then it was just blue toned or slate colored, and then terrible font, which they duplicated on every single one of them, as you can see. I mean, this would have been a nice like lakefront kind of scene if it wasn't like red toned across the board, which makes it look vaguely menacing. And then this one, log cabin flannel. Again, I'm confused. They're kind of wood grain texture. I don't know if you can see that very well on camera. Yeah, it's a lot going on and also a little at the same time. So I don't know what to say. Weirdly, although they didn't need it, they did also give us colored waxes, which were very lovely. And at the time, I did say, you know, honestly, the colored waxes have always been a forte for Yankee Candle. They've always done that very, very well. They're going to do the 3 wick thing, and it will distinguish them at least to some extent from Bath and Body Works. Forget the wraparound. Just do the colored wax and put the regular label on the front. You know, the way they used to do the Yankee candles, it can be kind of photorealistic or whatever else. Let it look like Yankee Candle and lead with the colored wax. Lead with the colored wax, right? You don't even need to, you can spare the cost of the wraparound. Spare the cost, because these wraparounds are not, I imagine, I mean, they're relatively cheap, but they're not as cheap as doing just regular glass and a label. So just, all right, anyway, God bless. Obviously, Yankee Candle is scraping the bottom of the barrel in many ways. Marketing and graphics and packaging is just one of those aspects. Okay, so these were 3 brand new candles. They were in their new fall collection this year. Woodland Weekend Memories, say that 5 times fast. Afternoon Scrapbooking, and Log Cabin Flannel. And I believe there were at least 2 others, if not 3 others. I think there were probably 6, might have been 5. There was a Paddling on the Lake, which was a cologne leaning, but it did have a nice mint note in it. So there was Paddling on the Lake, and then there was Campfire Cocktails, which was kind of a cranberry cocktail gourmand cider kind of thing. It actually wasn't bad. It just wasn't remarkable. I didn't actually pick it up because it didn't come out weirdly in the 3 wick format, so I just didn't bother. Another one that didn't, there was the pumpkin cinnamon swirl or something such, which initially I thought was fine. It was good for a gourmand until their pumpkin spice latte candle came out. And then I thought that was much better in terms of it being a nice pumpkin spice. And then I kind of couldn't smell the pumpkin cinnamon one. It just started smelling cheap and very like red hot cinnamon forward. in comparison to that pumpkin spice latte, which I thought was a winner. So that one is actually in my trunk, and that was a 3-wick. It's in my trunk right now because I've got to return it to Yankee. I'm just absolutely not going to burn it. I would love to just swap it out, exchange it for maybe the Season in Sydney holiday candle, which is really kind of a summer candle, but that's another matter. And then I feel like there should have been, oh, that's 6. That's 6. That's 6 because those are the 3 other ones that are not represented here. Okay, so there you go. I was hoping the most for this one because far and away, I thought in terms of fragrances, this afternoon scrapbooking was definitely the standout. Afternoon scrapbooking, and I just realized I don't have any of the notes here, so this is going to be an absurd review. I'm sorry, I'm also scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of my energy levels here. I didn't, and I apologize for that, I really do. I don't have the notes for you for any one of these. Yankee Candle has a special Yankee Candle way of offering ridiculous scent notes, oftentimes, for a candle that you know for a fact is those notes are not represented in that candle. And I can't remember if any of these were absolutely atrocious in that respect, so I apologize. But I will tell you what it is that I smell and how it is that they performed. So afternoon scrapbooking is very wood forward, and it is very similar to the Palo Santo note from Bath & Body Works. So you can tell why I thought this was a standout. I do think that the Bath & Body Works Palo Santo note is a standout. And this one is exactly the same way. There is something vaguely herbal about this candle as well. It kind of, for me, goes Palo Santo sage-like. It's warm, it's got amber, it's a very warm, dry wood, that Palo Santo note. And it's got something herbal in it. It may also have, and I think it did also have something like bergamot in it or some other sort of flashy citrus note on top. But as you well know, the bergamot with some musk, with some wood, you have essentially a standard men's cologne fragrance profile. And this definitely does go a little bit masculine, at least with the strong wood note, with a little bit of an herbal. And then it does have musk, and it does have, I think, a flash of bergamot on top. But what I'm grateful for, and it cannot be said for a lot of other candles from Yankee Candle, even in this collection that we're going to talk about, is that it's not overwhelmed by amber, musk, and bergamot, so that the other inner notes are just kind of almost an afterthought for what is essentially a very cliched men's cologne. This is different in that the middle notes, i.e. the Palo Santo and what is a sage or some other sort of similar herbal, those notes stand out. Those are the biggest notes here, and it's a lighter touch, at least for the bergamot on top, if not also for the musk. And so for that reason, I thought it was kind of a standout. Unfortunately, virtually unscented once it was burned. So I was very, very disappointed with this candle. I mean, I think that there was just no way in the open concept, absolutely none. It's a beautiful bedroom scent, but I think even in the bedroom did not do particularly well. I think it probably topped out at like maybe a 4. I want to say a 4, maybe a 4.5. Spent a lot of time in the guest bathroom for obvious reasons. I don't think anybody's going to be clamoring for this candle. I think that there's a good start here. Like I said, very kind of similar vibes to Palo Santo and Sage, which is a gorgeous candle from Bath & Body Works. Doesn't quite have the austerity or the authenticity, though, that Palo Santo Sage has. And it just absolutely did not perform. And don't get me wrong, Palo Santo and Sage from Bath & Body Works does not perform all that well either, but certainly better than this one did. So unfortunately, I really can't recommend it to you. Let's do Woodland Weekend Memories. This one actually performed a bit better, and I ended up liking it. This is the one that smells a little bit Baccarat Rouge-y for my nose. Actually, a lot Baccarat Rouge-y. However, it is a very strong masculine, like a true masculine cologne version of Baccarat Rouge. This, I believe, is what they were trying to go for. at Bath & Body Works when they marketed First Sight, which, by the way, that First Sight cologne is 50% off right now. It's semi-annual sale. So First Sight, and you should know, so First Sight is like the masculine half of the wedding duo that came out, I don't know when it was, in the spring of this year, something like that. And basically First Sight was supposed to be a very austere masculine version of Baccarat Rouge, but in the development process, it just didn't quite go austere or masculine enough. And it really just ended up being a fairly good dupe of Baccarat Rouge, which is to say that I think for most men's preferences, and I know I'm being stereotypical here, but for most male preferences is probably going to be a bit too caramelized, a bit too sweet. And I don't think it sold particularly well because the women who would have loved First Sight, it's really a very close dupe of Baccarat Rouge, didn't know because it wasn't being marketed to them. It was being marketed in like navy blue masculine packaging as the groom side of essentially a heterosexual wedding moment, male and female. So it was a rare misstep for Bath & Body Works. This Woodland Weekend Memories basically smells, I believe, exactly what they were going for in terms of a very masculine cologne version that's inspired by Baccarat Rouge. This one, it has a ton of bergamot in it and a ton of heavy musk at the base. And then it really bumps up the wood aspect of Baccarat Rouge that is kind of missing in action for the actual Baccarat Rouge, which tends to be just a lot. What comes across most strongly with the Baccarat Rouge fragrance is a lot of caramel and a lot of musk. And here, less caramel, more wood, and a ton of bergamot. So kind of that sharp masculine pop at the top up against a very deep kind of standard musk. So yeah, this is the masculine version of Baccarat, but it still has those really beautiful, sweet, cashmere caramel-like notes that we've all come to love and expect from Baccarat Rouge. So yeah, in that sense, not a bad cologne conceptual for Yankee to be marketing, no question. If it were not for the fact that I feel as though it's more than every other fragrance. I would say it seems as though fully 75% of their fragrances now, their new fragrances, are some sort of cologne conceptual. Sometimes they're a perfume conceptual, but more often than not, they're masculine cologne conceptuals and not particularly interesting or original ones. And I don't know why they've gone in that direction. This is another thing that Sean from Hearthside used to really be upset about. And he would blame it on what he called French perfumers who had come in and ruined the Yankee Candle. The thing with Sean from Hearthside is sometimes he's wrong, but often even when he's wrong, there's a degree of truth in it, and he's really got his finger on something that has changed or whatever else. In this case, it is true that Yankee's new candles have been very heavily perfumey and cologne-y. I love a good conceptual, but if they're all perfume and cologne conceptuals, it's gonna get old really fast. And the way that Yankee has been doing them, it's just a very heavy, cliched, mostly musk, amber, bergamot, with something thrown in that is kind of given a half-ass effort. To me, it also seems indicative of the fact that they're probably using cheaper inputs and cheaper oils, and so they can kind of cover over a multitude of sins with a high bergamot and a standard musk, if you know what I mean. Just drown it in cologne and call it a day, because if it wasn't drowned in cologne, then we would be able to tell that the wood note that you're using here is pretty cheap and synthetic. You see what I'm saying? If that's not the case, unfortunately, they're shooting themselves in the foot, because that's the impression that these cologne conceptuals seem to give off. And the fact that Yankee Candle has been struggling across the board and giving us packaging and marketing like this also contributes to the perception that they're probably using very cheap inputs. All right, close parentheses. Woodland Weekend Memories actually did perform better though than the afternoon scrapbooking one. I would say that it probably came in the back bedroom at like a 6.5, maybe even more than that. I wouldn't try it in the open concept. I do think it kind of got lost in the open concept, but like I said, significantly better than the afternoon scrapbooking one did. And it is a pretty heavy cologne, even though it is Baccarat Rouge inspired. So I don't know if you would want this to be in the 8 range, but there you go. If there was one that I would repurchase, it would probably be this one, Woodland Weekend Memories. The last but not least candle that I've got here is Log Cabin Flannel, and I'm still not quite sure how I feel about this candle. So it was a beautiful green color. It's great marketing. I mean, not marketing in terms of the package, but Log Cabin Flannel is very standard and seasonal for a fall collection. And it's exactly what you would expect from a candle called Log Cabin Flannel. It reminds you very much of like the flannel fragrance from Bath & Body Works. Yes, it's a generic men's cologne, but at least you can kind of smell the tree in it, you know? It's got some fir, it's got some balsam, it's got some pine, you know? At least you can smell that with a little bit of a wood overtone and then an enormous amount of bergamot and musk, essentially. It's definitely a fall or cool weather leaning candle. And like I said, fairly standard, leaning into almost generic for this time of year, for the marketing, for the fragrance. I didn't hate it, but it's certainly not one that I would go out and get. And if I wanted a really nice tree fragrance, I would get a nice tree fragrance Senza without the high bergamot and the musk. I love musk, but at least do the musk and don't do the bergamot. Just please don't. It's just that cliche formula. It's just so bad. It's so bad. And at this time, in the year of our Lord 2024, please can we depart from this really cliche men's cologne formula? I mean, even the men, and frankly, again, I'm sorry about the gender stereotype here, but men traditionally have been super boring, you know? We used to always make jokes about like your significant other, if it's a man, like basically being happy with a generic bar soap in your shower for hair, face, head, body, I mean, I don't know, teeth. I mean, men are just traditionally, they've been extremely low maintenance. And, you know, I mean, the Axe body spray genre existed for so long because men were just really not imaginative, creative, or, you know, excited about personal body care. That has changed. That has changed. Men are different now. Men are interested in grooming, in skincare, all kinds of other things. Not even to mention the younger generation of men here in Gen X who are like, frankly, rivaling women even in their obsession for like beauty techniques and like personal fragrance, etc., etc. You cannot be giving us these bullshit cologne fragrances anymore. And I'm looking at you, of course, Yankee Candle, but I'm also looking at you, Bath & Body Works. And Bath & Body Works has done a much better job of starting to nuance out their men's fragrances. But man, I saw a lot of cologne fragrances that were on the cutting room floor of semi-annual sale. I went to the semi-annual sale this morning. Oh my gosh, it's so sad. It's so sad. Is it just my store that's sad? Oh, my store is so sad. Anyway, there are a ton of colognes I've noticed on the 50% off table that Bath & Body Works brought out in like the fall. And with the exception of about 2 of them, most all of them were extremely cliched and extremely dated. No, not even the men are buying it anymore. Okay. And I hope I haven't offended anyone with like some sort of gender triggering moment. So yeah, that was Log Cabin Flannel. Log Cabin Flannel didn't burn all that well, I'm not gonna lie to you, and it could very well have been about the color of the wax. Often you will see with a wax that darkly pigmented that it will really struggle, and this one burned very low. I don't know if it went puny wicks, but it was burned low, and it was burned very long as a hate burn in the guest bathroom for most of its existence. So there's that Log Cabin Flannel. I don't think anybody's gonna be rushing to the store to buy this, so I wouldn't be displeased if it didn't come back, to be perfectly honest. And it's not as if Yankee Candle doesn't have a dime a dozen of these kinds of cliched men's fragrances that they frankly have tried marketing to us at all times of the year, but especially in the fall. Like, it's like they completely lack imagination in the fall area, and I don't get it. Everybody else, every other company seems to be getting more and more original in their fall period. Yankee Candle less so as it goes along. And they've even like destroyed their like standbys. They've destroyed their spiced pumpkin fragrance and their pumpkin apple I mean, some of their long standby fragrances, they've like watered down, undermined, reformulated, redeveloped. It's a disaster. So you can see how this year in review segment of the video is going to go here. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of like in a peevish and petty mood, so that definitely doesn't help. Sorry, Yankee. Yankee Candle's year in review has been, I think, the most disappointing in that when they started out the year, I really was very happy with them, and I thought, gosh, are they turning a corner? But like, how many times are we going to be psyched out, faked out by Yankee Candle? I mean, it seems like they get a new CEO every year who promises to turn everything around in this company, change it around because they understand how bad the direction has been, et cetera, et cetera. Huge changes coming down the line. And we get excited. And then a year or two later, nothing has changed. We are still in the same position. And like, I can't take it anymore energy-wise. I just can't. I would rather just be negative across the board. It's like the fake outs that just make me so upset. So the fake out this year was their first major collection in January, was Under the Desert Sun. And it was a strong collection. Did it blow my mind or change my life? Not necessarily. But I thought it was a good collection. And what's more, it was limited, it was thoughtful, it was diverse, and it landed. It landed. No, those candles were not necessarily completely original, with the exception of at least one of them. But on top of it, like, they were good. People bought them. Like, and a couple of them were extremely commercial. The agave one, what was the agave one? I'm sorry, I'm so underprepared for this video. It was the green, oh gosh, it's failing me. I'll talk about the other ones first and hopefully it'll come to me. There was a Desert Blooms, which I actually smelled in the store the other day. I think it was at Target, and I picked it up. I was like, oh yeah, this candle from January. And I have to say, I really love that candle on cold. I just really do. It's one of those kind of rosewood patchouli-ish kind of fragrances, like from Bath & Body Works. But I actually kind of like the way that the Yankee one smells on cold better than rosewood patchouli from Bath & Body Works. Unfortunately, when it was burned, it kind of went the direction of rosewood and patchouli. It got heavy, and weirdly, it also separated. The fragrance separated as it burned, so that from afar, you just got this really weird, like almost baby powder-esque, like dated rose fragrance. And then as you got closer, then you could kind of smell the heavy patchouli part of it. It just wasn't, it was not formulated correctly. It was not executed correctly. But it really was great on cold. And as I said, it fulfilled a niche in that little mini collection, which by the way was only it was actually 5 candles, because then they offered Pine Canyon Trail as an online exclusive or something like that. Pine Canyon Trail was great. Canyon Trail is actually very similar to Goldenberry and Mistletoe from Bath & Body Works. It was a really fruity, almost citrusy kind of spruce candle, and it was gorgeous. I actually, again, liked it a little bit better on cold than Goldenberry Mistletoe from Bath & Body Works. And you know what I think about, Goldenberry and Mistletoe from Bath & Body Works. I liked that Pine Canyon Trail. It was a little bit more authentic smelling, and it had a little bit less of the body care aspect in the Pine Canyon Trail, which makes sense because Yankee doesn't do body care. So that was a great candle, and it performed decently. Again, not groundbreaking, but it was solid, right? And it was great for January. So they had that one. They had the Desert Blooms. They had salted, oh gosh, what is the agave candle? I can't. It's going to be linked down below because it's cactus, agave, who knows what. I'm losing my grip. The one that was the winner for me was the sweet vanilla horchata, which was panned, and for good reason, because it was a hot mess of a candle. It was vanilla and cardamom, like a really strong cardamom note, really strong cardamom, and then I think there was a floral dimension to it and something else. Can't remember. It was probably patchouli. It was a hot mess of a candle. There is no question. And it didn't perform on top of it. It came in at a 2 or a 3, But man, I love that candle. And you know why I loved it? Because I thought it was the most original of everything they gave us in that 5. It was original. It was outside the box. It was things that shouldn't have gone together, and I don't even know that they did, but I just gave them so many props for not giving us a boring fucking candle. You know what I mean? It was great. It was great. It needs major execution, tweaking, but I loved it. And it was not even remotely close to an horchata, which should be cinnamon, not cardamom. I mean, I don't think hardly anyone liked that candle. I loved that candle, and for me, it was the standout, and it was the one that I repurchased. So there was that. But far and away, the best one was the green agave candle. There's no question. It was a beautiful, dewy, aquatic green kind of candle, and it was special, and it performed well. I mean, it was up in the 7 to 8 range. It was a good performing candle, even in the 2-wick. And it was far and away their best seller from that collection. I would go into the store, they'd have that one lit up. That was a really, really good candle. Very commercial as well. That's the kind of fragrance that Bath & Body Works would kill for. It was a very Bath & Body Works kind of fragrance. So there was that. And then there was the daydreaming, stargazing. Stargazing was the other one. There was the purple, dusty purple color. I didn't like that one very much, but a lot of people really liked it. So it was successful on that level. I just could not figure that candle out at all. It was like lavender and sandalwood, and a lot of things that actually should have gone well together. And somehow in that candle, they did not go well together. I found that candle very off-putting, but like I said, a lot of people really liked it. So it was a very limited collection. Every candle made sense. There was no redundancy. The colors were great. The concept was great. The seasonality was great. It was a modest collection, but it landed. And I thought, Yankee Candle is back, right? Wrong. Okay, so then their next collection after that was the Target exclusive collection, which I thought was also great. And it was the Bahamas, all the islands, Caribbean collection. It was the Caribbean collection. Stunning colors, beautiful packaging, a great deal of restraint. It was a really good collection with some standout fragrances. Jamaica vibes, gorgeous fragrance. It was like a black pepper, grapefruit. And it was almost a molten brown level fragrance. That was fantastic. Of course, did not perform at all, or at least not very well. I think it probably came in at about a 4.5, maybe a 5, maybe a 5. It definitely performed better than Bahama Beach Bum, which was probably the best in the collection. That Bahama Beach Bum would be a headliner marquee like summer fragrance in any company. Bath and Body Works would kill for that fragrance. That was a fragrance that also included this nice Palo Santo note, along with a lot of other really great like beachy kind of fragrance notes, the usual amber, sandalwood, coconut, etc. And then standing in for that driftwood note was kind of that nice Palo Santo. And that's when I said, Bath and Body Works should be doing this and calling it Palo Santo Sands. I mean, this could be one of their like flankers for that Palo Santo collection. I don't know if anything of what Yankee is going to do with that because it really underperformed. I mean, you were lucky if you got a 3 out of that candle, and it's a shame. It's a crying shame because that candle is one of the best new candles that I have smelled from Yankee in a long time. And like I said, would be a winner in any company for a summer fragrance. That was gorgeous. And then there were some fruity candles that actually performed decently. The Aruba candle that was a beautiful like triple melon candle, watermelon, cantaloupe, honeydew. And then there was the mango candle, colorful curacao, which apparently performed quite well, but it was a bit too sweet and aggressive for me. So I passed on that one. Gorgeous, like marigold yellow. Oh, so beautiful. And then there were a couple that were kind of like, There was a St. Lucia Skies, which was really just kind of like a soapy laundry fragrance. It didn't make sense in the collection, although conceptually it did. As you know, the light blue St. Lucia, a little bit like aquatic and floral and whatever, but it just ended up not being that and really just being more of a laundry scent. And then there was one more too, and I can't remember what the other one was Barbados spiced rum, which should have been a winner and was not. It had vetiver in it and clove and various other things like that. Much more for us in our association for those fragrance notes would have leaned a lot more fall and cool weather. So I burned it in the transition from like August to September. But unfortunately, the amazing spiciness of the fragrance that was really fairly original and authentic. Once it was burned, it just got very almost craft store generic. So that was not a winner of a candle. But yeah, man, Jamaican vibes in Barbados. Those candles for the most part underperformed. But like I said, many of the fragrances were above average and really fantastic. So while it was a step down from the Desert collection, at least again, there was reason to hope that Yankee Candle was doing something different. And then they come out with this ridiculous fall collection, which was like a lot of men's colognes, a lot of generic, horrible packaging and marketing. I mean, it was just like, can you not think of like good fall conceptuals? Like, I just don't understand it. It was such a bad collection. And then the winter collection was terrible on top of that. And the winter collection was not even seasonal. I mean, those candles were just whack, absolutely whack. The only one that really made sense was the Munich Christmas market one, which smelled like one of those Lebkuchen cookies. It was like the chocolate with that molasses heavy gingerbread that they use in Europe. It's not my personal taste, but it was very authentic and it was very seasonal, and they made it a Germany candle. And yes, that one made sense. All the rest, like basically none of the rest of them made sense. None of them. Then they had like a tropical floral for 'Tis the Season in Sydney. I mean, it's just straight up a summer candle. And then they had like a London tea calling or who knows what else, which had this like Palo Santo note in it with a little bit more cashmere and vanilla. But it advertised a tea note that for the life of me, I can't smell. I mean, it's just a very wood forward candle. Nothing there says London or tea to me at all, let alone Christmas or holidays. So there was that. The big apple Christmas with like an apple, and it was supposed to be about New York City and Taxi and Macy's and who knows what else. And it was really just winter candy apple, apparently, from Bath and Body Works, like kind of a lackluster dupe of it. And there's nothing particularly holiday-ish about an apple either. The apples are pretty much seasonally to the fall. And I would say that to Bath & Body Works' face as well. They market a lot of their fruity, tooty candles for the holiday season that frankly deserve no place in the holiday collection, and we just kind of let it go because, you know, Bath & Body Works, they've got like 115 fragrances on the floor, you know, many of which are core fragrances that are not seasonal, so we're just like, oh, whatever, you know. We'll just slap a holiday package on this very spring floral and call it a day. But that's a Bath & Body Works thing to do. Yankee should not be doing that. So Winter Candy Apple was absurd. There was this Parisian one that was like a Parisian cafe, something brioche. Oh, it was terrible. It was really terrible, kind of revolting smelling. And I know I'm missing one or two of them, but I just, I don't know what to say. Like, it was even more disastrous than the fall collection. The fall collection was mostly disastrous for being boring and generic, you know? But like the winter collection was not boring. It was like schizophrenic. Like it didn't make sense at all. And most of the fragrances were executed terribly or smelled nothing like what was advertised, a la Sweet Vanilla Horchata from January. So unfortunately, Yankee's year in review has been bad because we started out with some amount of promise and potential, however modest, and then it's just been kind of a decline, a steady decline with each collection as we've gone forward. I don't know what to say about Yankee. It's like they take one step forward and two steps back. You do the math. You do the math. We're not even taking the ball. We're not even bringing the ball back up to the yard, to the line of scrimmage, you know? Like, we're losing yardage on every play for Yankee. I don't know what to say. I really don't. I just don't. I don't. You know, you think to yourself, like, maybe this is it. Like, maybe I need to just turn my back on this company. Who is buying Yankee Candle anymore? Who is buying Yankee Candle? I don't know. Every year I think to myself, this will be the last year for it. They'll go under. They'll declare bankruptcy. It's over. I don't know who manages. I think it's the Newell brand still. Is it still the Newell Rubbermaid brand that manages Yankee Candle? They have a strong retail presence in all kinds of grocery stores and other places. And I think that that's what's kind of single-handedly like keeping the company afloat is marketing it in like CVS and grocery stores to the great unwashed. And they're still kind of riding on the name, the premium name of Yankee Candle still in the memory of a lot of people who don't know better and haven't purchased from them for like decades. And I think that that's what's keeping the company afloat. It's just the very casual grocery store kind of candle buyer. But I don't think it's going to be enough. And I just don't understand this company. I don't understand why they get a new CEO every year or two who promises great things and then doesn't deliver. It's like somebody who's like Mr. Smith going to Washington or something like that. Like everybody comes in and seems to understand the assignment. They understand the assignment of where Yankee is and where Yankee needs to go and all the things that need to be improved. And then 2 years later, it's like a revolving door. That person leaves having accomplished nothing. Like, what is it about this company that is like a black hole where you go and you become the president and you become the CEO and you realize this bureaucracy is just too aggressive. I can't get anything done. I'm being blocked on all sides. Like, I don't understand it. I do not. Oh, God. And Sean isn't here to have this conversation with you. Sean used to always be like, Yankee, I live close. I'll do it for free. Just put me in a hotel. I'll tell you what to do. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, between us, I kind of suspect that Sean doesn't have good business sense. I mean, it's one thing to feel as though you're an expert on like what fragrances are good or bad, but like there's a lot more to running a candle company than that. And I acknowledge that. yeah, someone's got to be able to help that company though, right? Right? What is going on? Do you have some insight? Do you have some insight? Do you work for Yankee? Do you work higher up? Do you know somebody who does? Do you have a contact? Like, what is going on? I'm tired of being on this roller coaster ride of emotion. I'm tired of being mildly excited by the company and think to myself, things are getting better. And then the other shoe drops. I'm tired of a year like this. I'm just tired of it. There you go. Yankee Candle year in review. I mean, it's not particularly glowing. It's just not, And unfortunately, man, that company needs a win. And they need not just a win. They need a consistent string of wins. You can't just do a brilliant run, send, you're running back down the field, complete a pass, whatever else, and then lose all the yardage with just being pushed back into your own end zone. What's the point? It just cancels out everything. It cancels out all your forward progress. Yeah. It's time for new players. It's time for a new coach. It's time, maybe a new city. I don't know, but it's not okay. It's not okay. And we need every candle company being as competitive as they can and as excellent as they can be. Everyone should have a vested interest in that. If you're a consumer, if you work for another company, et cetera, et cetera. Just the rising tide always lifts all boats. Yankee Candle just seems like a waste of everybody's time, attention, money, energy, et cetera. It just does. And they're just kind of dragging everybody down. Am I wrong? Am I being too negative? Am I being too negative? I kind of hope that I am. Tell me your thoughts. All right, there you go. So there's afternoon scrapbooking, log cabin, flannel, woodland weekend memories. I will list them down below, but I don't recommend any of them with the exception of Woodland Weekend Memories. If you like the Baccarat Rouge fragrance and you don't mind a nice cologne, that's the only one that I really could recommend to you, and only if those two things apply. So there you go. Yankee Candle, a grimace. I'll leave you with a grimace. And I'll catch you in the next one.